Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation, Bio-Based What? Consumers for a Sustainable Bioeconomy. Today I want to talk with you about the role of consumers in a sustainable bioeconomy. The impressions are based on my work as a communication researcher in Germany at the FernUniversität in Hagen and as an associate member of CURE, the Center for Environmental Management, Resources and Energy at the Ruhr-Universität in Bochum. Next slide, please. What I want to talk with you about in the upcoming 10 minutes. To find some answers on the following questions. The first question is, why should we talk with consumers for a sustainable or about a sustainable bioeconomy? The second is, what is the status quo when we look at these groups? And the third, how can consumers participate and bio-based products be communicated? So let's come to the next slide, please. The first question, why? As most of you know, bioeconomy opens up opportunities for sustainable economies and societies by providing products made of biomass and waste. In this context, the development of innovative technologies plays a key role, of course. You all know. But these are often, although, the drivers of social conflicts. Because in the development of these technologies, possible risks and opportunities are not considered from different perspectives at an early stage. And often only a small number of actors are involved. As a result, possible non-identified impacts are overlooked. This can trigger social conflicts and ultimately prevent market implementation. A famous example is the debate on agrofuels, the tank versus plate, that has left its mark on German bioeconomy. At the center of this debate was the question whether food crops such as maize could be used as biomass for energy production. This became visible for citizens and consumers as monoculturally cultivated maize plants, which led to altered landscapes and a decline in biodiversity. At the same time, there was a global speculation on maize, which triggered the tortilla crisis in Mexico. As a result, as we all know, public protest and resistance increased in many places around the world. And what the example also shows is that the production and the distribution of products is of interest to a growing number of consumers. So these conflicts arise not only on the fields, they become also visible in the shops where consumers consciously decide, e.g. in the German example, against the plastic bag made of maize or not consuming biofuels. So what can we learn from this? Everybody, whether a citizen or a consumer, will be affected by the changes that come with a sustainable bioeconomy and should therefore have the opportunity to participate through constructive and informative formats that focus on the exchange of different perspectives rather than just a protest. Although the bio-based industry needs the input of consumers to ensure that the products developed meet the requirements and expectations. So let's take a deeper look on the status quo. Please, next slide. What is the status quo? Communication for bio-based economies has hardly been researched so far. Isolated results indicate that the majority of consumers in Europe, and especially in Germany, do not have a precise understanding of the term bio-based, or when an inadequate one, that it is classified as bio-based, is classified as sustainable or green per se. This is also shown by some European projects like BioBridges that dealt with consumers and the communication of bio-based products. They ran from 2017 till 2020 a survey to assess the level of public awareness on bio-based products and the perception of the bioeconomy in general. What did they find out? About 1,000 responses across 39 European states made clear that although consumers generally have a positive impression of bio-based products, they need access to more information about them. Therefore, they prefer channels like TV or social media. Beyond that, what we see in our real-world labs is that people want to be involved. On the one hand, they want to learn new things, but on the other hand, they also want to participate in concrete recommendations that are then handed over to the decision makers from politics or business. Here it is not only about product design, but also about discussions about production and distribution. In the case of bio-based products, for example, it is about how farmers can produce biodiverse biomass, or how bio-based products can become recognizable for consumers in the shops. So we can state there is a lack of knowledge and information about bio-based products. This lack can, in the worst case, make bio-based products appear greener and more sustainable than they are, which can ultimately lead to rejection. To enable a sustainable bioeconomy and place bio-based products on the market, it is advisable to include the consumer's perspective along the value chain. So now, what can we take away from this for communication and participation? Next slide, please. Yeah, how to go on. Conflicts in the context of bioeconomy can be dealt in a more constructive way if technology developments and their possible consequences are assessed more broadly. For this, as many different perspectives as possible should be included. An inclusive and respectful atmosphere is crucial here. Dialogue-oriented procedures such as citizen councils lend themselves to this. Here, people of different ages, genders, with and without expert knowledge, come together to work out recommendations. In addition, concrete communication actions for consumer sectors, such as cosmetics or packaging, have been developed, for example, in the BioCan-Do project. Here are messages and informations about the origin of the biomass, the benefits they have for the health of consumers, or ethical issues on genetic modification are important. Yeah, what can we say in the end? Everything stands and falls with a good communication and participation concept, and thus answers to the questions of which consumers are informed in which way, and furthermore, how they can be involved in the development of the products. So, thank you for your attention. On the next slide, you finally find all the links to the European and German projects I mentioned, and thank you, and I'm happy to hear your questions.
So thank you, Ms. Reinermann, for this interesting talk on public perception and social acceptance, and also on communication about biotechnology, and hopefully welcome to our studio. Great, it works.
Hi, everyone.
So the first question that directly rise up in listening to you is, what are the best options to move forward for a better communication with the consumers? So do you have any approaches you would see in first line in this case?
Yeah, as I already mentioned, I would prefer such dialogue-oriented formats, yes. and not only formats we already known in product design or development, like living labs, so where you only or mostly focus on the product development, but I would prefer these dialogue-oriented formats along the value chain, yes, so that the consumers can think and talk about the production of biomass, the distribution of the products, and the design, that they get in touch with the whole process. So these dialogue-oriented formats I already mentioned in the presentation, I would prefer. That is my answer.
You also mentioned that the people partly are confused about the information they get on these kinds of topics, especially when it comes to what is best, what is sustainable. I remember the discussion on bioplastics, which was used for biodegradable plastics, but also for bio-based plastics, and nobody really understood what is the difference, what's the same. What do you see in this direction? So when we want to go for some kind of public communication, do you see, for example, online tools? You mentioned social media. I also can imagine on webinars, or also Wikipedia and other tools to inform and communicate with the people as a better option.
Yeah, I think you have to differ between the different aspects, yes, like information, participation, and in a way like design or working on such projects. And for example, information, I have good experiences with entertainment formats, yes, like soap operas, movies, not only the classic information formats you already know, but such more in an entertainment way you can produce such messages. And I think the European projects I mentioned, they have also very good experiences with serious games, yes, like gaming, where you can put such information too. Yes, I think this is important, because otherwise the people think, bio-based is always sustainable, and it is not always at the moment. and at the end they can think, it's like a kind of greenwashing. Yeah, they tell us that this is sustainable, but it isn't. So I think we should be careful with that.
Okay, directly addressed to this part, who should be in the role of the communication? Because you already mentioned they may think it's whitewashing. They partly do not believe in when you have the message from a big company or stuff. So who should be the one who train about maybe bioeconomy, bio-based in a broader sense in this case?
This is a good question. Thank you. We made good experiences with neutral persons, yes. Like when we organize, for example, this dialogue-oriented formats, we have experts with different perspectives. They bring in their knowledge, and we have a neutral person that organize the input, and then the consumers have a time only by themselves, where they can go to the experts and ask them something, but they work by themselves for some recommendations. So I think the person has to be neutral in a way, yeah, and a kind of Glaubwürdigkeit, to look credibility, yeah, that this is necessary, I think.
I think the questions from the audience go more or less in the same direction, so I can pick some of those. How can we improve communication across different consumer groups?
This is a good question. I would prefer more target-oriented communication. Like you have different consumer groups and they need different kind of communication messages. But when it goes to the recommendations, for example, when we work on this dialogue-oriented formats, we have more heterogeneous perspectives, different kind of perspectives of different people that come together and discuss in a constructive way. So I think it belongs to the aim you have, what you want to communicate. And then you have to decide more target group oriented or a lot of different perspectives to work on recommendations. So it belongs to the aim, the communication aim you have.
Okay, and back to the whitewashing topic, how can a possibly negative perception of a large consumer group can be changed?
Good question. I think everyone wants to know that. I think the easiest way to answer is dialogue. Yeah, get in touch with the people, talk with them, inform them in a way of more transparent way that you have a credibility on that, and include them in your development process. I think this would be the easiest, or not, it's not easy, but in a way the easiest answer at the moment. Of course, it's very complex to answer the question in practice. It's not that easy. No.
Okay. So from our studies at Nova Institute, you also did some research in this direction of social acceptance and some questions on how to train the people on this. And we learned that sometimes you cannot imagine the questions that people have. And for example, there was a study on CO2-based polyols for mattresses to sleep on from Covestro, and the people thought they will be killed by the CO2. How can you react on these kinds of false information?
Yeah, if you get in touch with them, yes. If you let them know what happened there. And the best way, for example, in the social sciences, we have also very participative methods, like the people get their own camera so that they can film, can take a movie of what they get in touch with and tell it other people. So I think the easiest way is to show them that there is no it's not dangerous for them, and to talk with them about. I think this is the easiest way.
I think that's a bit the case also for some topics we have today on AstraZeneca or several other topics. A question directly linked to the bio-based topic. Are there differences from your experience in acceptance of bio-based products that also may be due to social or even cultural differences?
I would say yes. For example, a very risky topic. It's not a bio-based product in a way, but I think if you talk about bio-based products, you always have the genetic modification topic in a way in your communication, or it can be an important point. And in Germany, it is a very risky topic, genetic modification of plants, animals, and so on. But in other European countries like Italian, you don't have that big deal with that. So then you can plan, another kind of communication. You can work with other input or content on your campaign and so on. So I think there are cultural differences, yes, of course.
There's also the wish in the audience to get a bit more information on the mentioned projects from your last slide. So can you dive a bit into one or two of them?
You mean the European projects and the German projects?
Or also national projects like Biorevere or others?
Yes. I mentioned Biorevere. Interesting. Biorevere and Biodisco, these are formats, they work with participation, dialogue-oriented formats, yes, where people work on recommendation, especially for politics, in this kind for the politics in North Rhine-Westphalia. So very regional focus on bioeconomy and in a way bio-based products. So the consumers, they talk about labeling, how the labeling should be organized, what are their ideas on sustainable agriculture and sustainable bio-based products, how this kind of sustainability has to be. And the European projects, BioCan-Do and BioBridges, I would say, I did not work in that project, but I would say that the projects more focus on information about bio-based products. So if you go to their websites, you will find some fact sheets, how you can communicate bio-based products in the washing sector or in the cosmetic sector or in when you have a lot of packaging, how you can communicate such content to the consumers. So, but they also have like serious games, I think. So they have different kinds of communication formats, but they have really hands-on messages, how to communicate bio-based products. And Biorevere and Biodisco focus more on the formats, on the participation process. So there you can get in touch. How can I organize such a format? Who has to be included? And what can be the results? So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for this talk.
Thank you.
We will go for the next speaker then. So thank you very much.